Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk, where we get to sit down with not just members, but our staff, our board of directors, and those big players right here in our backyards here in the community. Today, I have the honor and the privilege to be sitting next to Miss Eileen Wesley, who is the current CEO of Project Help Naples. Correct? That's
Correct.
Southwest Florida, Naples. You guys will get to know that that's not where it ends for this young lady. She has a great deal of history in the world of not just sexual assault, but recovery, a hope, a lot of therapy and such, and how much you extended your hand and your time. But first and foremost, Eileen, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm a very big fan of NABOR. So
Very few people can specifically state that, especially when we talk about these things, but I think it's important for us to have conversations, especially with those that are dealing with this head on. And though it's obviously a dark and gloomy topic, it's something that just needs to be discussed a little bit more so that understanding is first done so we can do something about it. So thank you so much again. So Eileen, I want to get kicking off. I have no clue where you're from originally. So I'd love to know what part of the world are you from before you made Naples home?
Well, I started out in Brooklyn in the early 60s. I'm a 60s hippie chick. And then I lived in New Jersey for a while, and I went to Florida when I was 11, and I was on the East Coast, and there was a palm tree coming up out of the sand, and I went, I'm going to live right here. I'm going to build a house right next to this tree. And so when I turned 27, I packed up my stuff and headed to, my girlfriend asked me to come down. I thought Naples was swampland, and I'd have to wear waders and fight off alligators and snakes and all that, but it turned out to be one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived in my entire life. I couldn't dream of something so beautiful.
I have to give you kudos already. Not many people claim that they're from New Jersey. So the fact that you had the confidence to say, I'm from New Jersey.
Well, if my family
huge.
heard this, they'd be all over me if I didn't tell you I had roots in New Jersey for a while.
We'll make sure we keep them on the block list when they come see the video. Just kidding. So when you got here, again, this is all going through your LinkedIn. So you were in landscaping and design. Like, was this, I'm pretty sure it was the right profile.
Yes.
So what got you into that world?
Well, it was by marriage, and he needed somebody to run his business. Pardon me. And I'm really good at business. You know, I have to say I have a good eye for what works and what doesn't work, and QuickBooks is my friend. So I had a small child when we moved down here, and so it afforded me the opportunity to be a mom and also work.
That's awesome.
And help the family make money. So we did that until 1994-ish, and then I ended my relationship with that business.
See how she did that very politically correct? With the business.
With the business.
Well played, well played. That was actually nice. So from that time, obviously this was back in '94, when did you start to get your hands into the world of, again, survivorship, assault, sexual assault, or more trauma-based occurrences?
Well, it was actually 1994. The reason I separated myself from the business is I'm a survivor of almost everything on our mission list. So I am a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a survivor of sexual assault. And I started volunteering anywhere I could, every place I could. If I heard a woman talking in the store and she was crying, I would just kind of stand in the wings and then say to her, you know, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'll help you. And I have my degrees are in psychology. I do have a business degree as well. So I've wanted to get into nonprofit, but I didn't know how. I was always in the for-profit world. I worked for one of the richest men in New York City, and he ran a business. I was his assistant. We flew in helicopters all over the place. It was very fancy. And I didn't want fancy anymore. I wanted to get nitty-gritty, roll my sleeves up, get on the streets, and help people that needed help. So I volunteered everywhere and took a job, little jobs here and there, and ended up working at Publix for a while, being their back office accountant on the weekends because I had a son in 1998 and he has autism and very difficult with ADHD. So it was very difficult to find a daycare that could contain him. So the containment didn't work. So I had to work nights, and my husband worked during the day, my new husband. We're going to be married 25 years in December. So
I'm glad you stayed with that business.
Yeah, this business is a good one. He's a good egg. And we just kind of made it work. And then I picked up a little virus while I was working at Publix. I don't know if it was transmitted through the money I was counting or the air, but the doctor said, I really don't want you handling money anymore. And I went, okay, I'll have to do everything with credit cards going forward. So I left there and was offered a job at Project Help. Did not know what Project Help was. I thought it was a construction company. I said, I'll take it. It's a job. It's not dealing with money. It's dealing with people. And I walked in and they said, we're the Rape Recovery and Victim Service Center. And I fell to the floor. And I went, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Like it was just, like everything aligned, absolutely
perfect.
perfect.
I didn't do any research.
Here.
You know, the person who hired me, I've known her for a very long time. She knew my work ethic. She knew my background and said, you'll be a perfect fit. And I went, okay, I'll try it. And when I walked in and they explained what they did, I literally hit the floor.
What was, I mean, it has to be, right? Because you had mentioned to yourself, you hadn't really connected yourself with the group that grassroots, that the knuckles are in the dirt, fighting what it is that you're passionate about, okay? So what was one of the moments where you were left, I mean, aside from just walking in and saying, you guys do all of these things, but what was one thing since joining Project Help that just left you in absolute awe and probably a moment that probably still ingrained in you today?
It's ingrained to me today that people need to have their voice heard and they need validation. And my first sexual assault that I went out on, I was really scared because I'm a survivor. And I went for help, you know, but I didn't go to a rape crisis center. We handle things differently than outside sources do because we're zoning in on what they want to do and what are their rights. And we all study the law and we study what needs to be done. And the first time I helped a sexual assault victim, I was like, I'll never leave. I will die at my desk. I don't care where they put me in this building. I will never leave here. And if they fire me, I'll volunteer.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy to say the least. And you had mentioned, right? So you 94. We're talking about 86. Their help or their beginning started with David Lawrence, which many of us that live here in Southwest Florida know David Lawrence well. I'm a veteran who deals with certain things. They deal with as well traumatic experiences for veterans as well. Are big players right here in our own backyard. But affiliations and partnerships are big in what you guys do.
Very much.
Obviously, we're sitting here today at Neighbor. We're obviously doing this little class. But what has it been for you personally, as well as a not a board of director, but you're all obviously administration with Project Help as a CEO. But what has this partnership been, and what has it meant to you guys with Neighbor?
Well, I say it takes a village to heal a person. I mean, you can't just come to my hut and get healed. I need everybody in the community to help me with this person. This person has more needs than just the trauma that they went through in their event that happened to them, because we do all crime. So, or they have sudden traumatic loss of a loved one. So you can't just say, I'm just going to take care of this person and that's it. They're going to have other needs that come out as they start to heal. So we deal with every nonprofit in town, and our relationship with Neighbor, I say it all the time, is they're realtors. They are one of our most vulnerable victims. They are in a house doing a showing all by themselves. They don't know who's going to walk through the door. They have no clue what's happening. And when they invited me in and I was talking with them, it clicked. Everybody in the room, not one person went, she said rape. She said death. She said violence. They all just looked at me like, we're so glad you're here. And I said, I'm really glad I'm here. And I have not ever had a moment where if you guys asked me to do something, as long as it wasn't illegal, I would do it.
It's crazy you say that, because I've met people in this industry, and I've my little background, but I've been in it for 4 years in the industry, and I've spoken to people who have had issues in open houses, in meetings, listing appointments, and there have been things that occur. And it's crazy to think that some of the reasons why they didn't go and speak to someone or go to the authorities or speak to someone that should have helped them, one of their issues is, well, because I'm seen as this person online, like there's this aura or this facade I have to carry with. And the way I explain it to them, I go, as much as you're trying to carry it, imagine trying to carry it while all this is torn up.
And they also look, who's going to believe me?
Correct.
Right? And are they going to come to me because now I'm damaged or I have been vulnerable? Are they going to trust me? So they don't talk about it. Most victims don't talk about it because they don't think anyone's going to believe them. There might have been threats, If you tell anybody, this can happen to you. So Project Help is there for those people, you know. And like with the hurricane, you guys asked me to come in and speak. I look at the hurricane as a violation, and it made every single person in this town vulnerable to terror and trauma.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
If you went down, if you spent any type of time near the edge, near the coastline, pretty much from Naples or Marco north, the amount of devastation was just ginormous. And you had mentioned about doing that class, which was big, because you put on a class, I believe it was last week on the 13th, whatever it may be, and you were basically teaching and helping others going through the traumatic experience and how to deal with that stress during and after the storm, correct?
Yes, and everybody deals with the storm different. So when I do a class of any sort, it's always an open dialogue. I don't just sit there and lecture. You know, I quickly tell everybody who I am very quickly, and we talk about the reason I'm here. And then I go, and I want you to interrupt me. Let's have and we had some fantastic conversation about the trauma of this storm. There wasn't a dry eye at a table. You know, everybody was affected by it. And I think we worked on different ways they can cope, different ways they can voice themselves, but like even the internet, it's such a vicious cycle. You know, you go on there and you say, we survived, we made it, we're good, and people go, why didn't you leave? Why did you stay? You know, and they should not, unless they're probably in some other state, they don't even realize what everybody went through when that storm came in.
It's always nice to play Monday morning quarterback. You have no clue what goes through people's minds, no matter the situation. But what I know is at the end of the day, this person, whether they stayed or they left, their belongings are gone. I mean, aside from the fact that their life is here, that they're doing well in the more physical form, a lot of people are destroyed mentally. I think we all know that once your spirit and your brain and your mind has been broken, it's very easy for your body to trail that.
Yes.
Unless you almost put like that stop, kind of like the crack on a windshield. You want to kind of get to the stopping point to be able to correct it. For you personally, I know that safe space is a term that's used a lot, but I have to have a feeling that a part of the process for Project Hope with their counselors is obviously going through hope and through all the other
the whole healing process. Yeah.
Correct, the healing process. Even in a room like you had mentioned about people finally being able to at least be open to breaking down, because you've been like sheltered, strong. Just give me a moment to breathe.
Right, and I wasn't up there going, oh, and let me tell you about mine. I heard what they had to say, I validated what they had to say, and tried to help them understand that what they're going through and their reactions are not, don't think of yourself as weak, don't think yourself as, you know, that somebody's going to laugh at you, because they shouldn't. You know, we all react differently. Some people they laugh. I have humor. Humor is my number one go-to for everything. Some people get angry, some people get sad, some people just shut down. And after a bit, people stop listening to you. So just being heard is the most important thing. Each person was able to tell their story. And putting it out to the universe doesn't make it as terrifying as when you hold it inside. Because
the only voice that you're hearing, the only critic you're hearing is your brain and your subconscious, rather than the critics of others.
Yeah.
And in most cases, people are not going to critique you. I mean, let's just be honest. Now, we've talked a little bit about the drill stuff, but one of the cool partnerships and one of the cool things this year is you guys are actually sponsored by Neighbor as their project of choice.
Yes.
And I know that the class, or the leadership class of this year, I as well teamed up with you guys to put in some tender loving care to your facility. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, they came in and they redid our forensic room, which had old filing cabinets holding up Formica as the desk. The chairs were rickety. You could hear as they were rolling around the room, and they painted my office and decorated it, and then they took our conference room and turned it into one of the most magnificent rooms I have ever seen in my life for therapy. They turned the entire room into a therapeutic, relaxation, de-stressing, de-escalating type room, and we could never have afforded to do that. We could have never been able to think the way they did when they came in. And while they were there, a sexual assault came in, and it hit home. They went, what do we do? What do we do? And they were, you know, wanting to know, because they wanted to respect the victim. And I felt more in love with Neighbor at that moment, because they didn't go, oh, well, there's a victim over there and hammering and doing whatever, they stopped and they backed up and they stayed on one side of the building, and the victim didn't even know they were there. How respectful.
Well, leaders. I mean, if there's one thing that you want is be a leader, and sometimes leaders don't say anything and don't do anything. Sometimes a great leader just understands when they just say, let me step back and be vigilant, and be in a support role. And I think that's amazing. I mean, that story wasn't even
tells
something
me
I traveled.
they understood trauma.
That's
you know?
amazing.
And when the hurricane hit, I looked at my husband and I said, we have to get to work. I have to look at the therapy room because our parking lot flooded. And I went, we have to get there. I have to see what happened. So I can call neighbor and just say, the storm did this, but we're gonna get through this, because everybody was texting me from leadership. How are you?
Amazing.
What's going on? Do you need anything? And we were very, very fortunate that the water never went inside. I said God had his angel wings covering our building because we lost Project Help in Irma. And we found this place, and they came in, and it is the perfect building now. If you walk in, and anybody's welcome to come for a tour, they're welcome to just call and say, I have questions, because I have not noticed anybody really de-escalating from this storm, you know, because like it rained yesterday. There's pictures of streets flooded everywhere.
There's a lot of
such a
triggering.
trigger.
Yeah, there's a lot of triggering events that have happened, especially anything that has to do with weather.
Yeah, like our victims and our I shouldn't say that, our survivors and our helpline have been much busier since the storm. But that's what we're there for.
Listen, it's never something you want to hear that obviously the volume has gone up, but you also want to hear it because people are willing to reach out. For us, I think in anything we do, whether it's business or whether it's in life, that first step is one of the first, it's the hardest.
Yes.
And the fact that people are taking a step to call, which I actually want to segue to that. For those that are currently going through it or may go through in the future, what's the number that they'd want to plug right into their phone to be able to reach out to you guys?
It's our helpline. It's 239-262-7227. And it's on our website. You can actually hit the button if it's on your phone, and it'll ask you, you want to call this number, so you don't have to try to remember and type it in your keypad. We are available 24 hours a day, and it's fully trained, certified advocates on the line who are used to dealing with trauma.
It's amazing. Yeah. And then for those who want to get involved as a volunteer, is exactly what leadership did. If there's someone out there who's been looking for a place, looking for a community that they can finally give back to, and Project Hope really starts to pull on their heartstrings, how are they able to reach out to you guys for volunteer opportunities?
Well, they can email me at my email, Eileen@projecthelpnaples.org, or they can call our office, 239-649-1404, and ask for me. And I'll take them on a tour, I'll show them everything that we do, and let them choose. I'm looking for board members, fundraisers, some office help, but that's kind of emotional. So that's not always everybody's cup of tea.
I get it.
But we do outreaching. We go to tables and do table events, and realtors are just full of energy.
That they are. That they are.
Yeah, it's amazing, amazing.
That they are.
Positivity that you get from them. I should have been a realtor.
And honest to God, the way I want to send this off, I use it as a little shtick, but I want you to say something to those that are going to be watching. Obviously, there's a lot of people who watch. A lot of people suffer in silence. But for those that potentially could be suffering right now, just something quick to kind of get them through and say, hey, maybe getting help is that first step, or if you want to wait, what would you like to say to them?
I just want to say that, silence is golden in the old school, but now silence is not so. Getting your voice out there, being heard by somebody, being believed by somebody is one of the most important steps that a survivor of a hurricane, a survivor of a crime needs. Watch the website and Neighbor, because we're going to be doing our little presentation again. And I'm not sure of the date yet. I was just talking to somebody about it. But please reach out. You're not alone. You have a whole team at Project Help that will help you.
Well, Eileen, listen, thank you so much. Not only for sitting here, but really for what you do. To be able to take time out of your life and make this about other people, not yourself. I put that pretty high on the rank structure, because it means a great deal, especially when it comes from your own personal trials and tribulations. So it's great that you've converted into fuel to bettering the world. So thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it from myself, Wade, from Neighbor. So thank you so much.
And thank you for taking time to actually talk to me.
Hey guys, so we just had a great interview with Miss Eileen Wesley, and for a couple of moments there I said Project Hope, all because of a mix-up from my readings, but it's actually Project Help. What we don't want is anybody here who's going through something or someone who wants to give back and get confused on Google and the Yahoo machine and looking for Project Hope. It is Project Help Naples right here. So thank you guys once again for watching. Thank you guys for accepting me with my snafus. And as Eileen is over here with the mean people's eyebrow, making sure I get it right this time, she makes sure that she wants you guys to reach out to the right place too. So thank you guys so much for listening to us. Thank you to Wade again, as always, behind the cameras and the audio. But again, if there's anything you guys ever need, Project Help Naples is here for you. Take care.